My name is Akin Owosina. I am the Chief of the Hydrology and Hydraulics Bureau at the South Florida Water Management District. The South Florida Water Management District is a regional governmental agency that manages the water resources in the southern half of the state of Florida, covering 16 counties from Orlando to the north all the way down to the Keys, and serving a population of more than 9 million residents. It is the oldest and largest of the state's 5 water management districts and was created in 1949. Our mission is to safeguard and restore South Florida's water resources and ecosystems, protect our communities from flooding, and meet the region's water needs while connecting with the public and stakeholders. We're responsible for managing and protecting our water resources in South Florida by balancing and improving the often competing needs for flood control, water supply, water quality, and the natural system. First, a little bit of history. Flood and droughts have shaped water management in Florida since statehood. In the early 1900s, the focus was on draining the marsh so that people could settle Florida. The focus led to the creation of the Everglades Drainage District by the state legislature in 1907. With the task of draining the Everglades, the agency built 4 mock script canals through the Everglades, connecting Lake Okeechobee to the Atlantic Ocean. Those canals were to be later improved by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, but that in a minute. And hurricanes in 1926 and again in 1928 that resulted in significant loss of life resulted in the formation of an Okeechobee Flood Control District by the state of Florida. 2 hurricanes in 1947 resulted in massive flooding, dropping more than 100 inches of rain, flooding millions of acres for up to 6 months. The response, in addition to previously mentioned canal improvements, was the construction of 85-mile-long Herbert Hoover Dike around much of Lake Okeechobee. Droughts between 1931 and 1935 exposed the unintended consequences of some of the flood control measures, as the overdrained Everglades suffered from some massive mock fires, and saltwater intrusion along the new canals resulted in contamination of drinking water wells. At the request of the state, Congress in 1948 authorized the Central and Southern Florida Project for flood control and other purposes. Florida in 1949 formed the Central and Southern Florida Flood Control District, which would later become the South Florida Water Management District, to be the local sponsor responsible for O&M of the project. This massive civil works project was designed and built by the Corps between 1950s and 1970s, and today includes more than 2,000 miles of canals, more than 2,000 miles of levees, more than 1,400 water control structures or project culverts, and 89 or so pump stations, making it possible to live and thrive in the 160 major drainage basins that represent the South Florida Water Management District. Much of those assets are 70 years old and have reached or are reaching or nearing the end of their design life. Several of these structures double as coastal salinity barriers. They are gravity spillways. They hold saltwater out of the canal system, but they also help discharge stormwater during flood conditions. As gravity spillways, they require a head difference between the inland water level and the tailwater conditions, which is the ocean, which have been changing with sea level rise. That is one of the first challenges that we have to deal with. There are several other challenges that we were able to find. To solve and address these challenges, the district put together a program known as the Flood Protection Level of Service Program, which is run out of the Hydrology and Hydraulics Bureau, which is my bureau. And we're tasked with looking for a systematic way of assessing the system, recommending potential solutions and adaptations that will make sure that we continue to provide flood protection for the communities that we serve. So going quickly through some of the challenges, I'd mentioned aging infrastructure. I've talked about sea level rise creating unadvantageous tailwater conditions, reducing the efficiency or the capacity to discharge of the coastal structures. We also have some other climate change drivers. We have increased storminess, higher extreme rainfall events. We also have the fact that a lot of the underlying assumptions that the CNSF project was designed on, including areas that were going to be places where you could store water, have become obsolete. Many of those areas, which were agricultural areas by design, are now cities that need to be drained during a storm event. There are 3 other areas which are very important to us and for which we're working with partners. One of them is the fact that flood drivers is not just one single thing. It's not just rainfall causing flooding or storm surge causing flooding. We have a system where for most of our coastal and near coastal areas, you're looking at compound events. You have the combination of rain and storm surge with an elevated groundwater resulting from sea level increase. That's one part. The second part is that you're asking people to make decision makers to make large investments with underlying information that has a fairly large amount of uncertainty. So we're looking at techniques and methods of supporting decision making with deep uncertainty. And the third part is how do you properly evaluate project alternatives, capturing all of their benefits when our traditional tools and techniques look at just the damage avoidance from flooding for projects that may have ecological, social, or other type of benefits or impacts. And so that is one of the big challenges we have. How do you monetize and include into economic analysis the co-benefits or the potential other impacts of some of the projects that we propose? These are some of the areas that we're looking at. I'm sure there are other areas because the district's responsible for multiple things. I really love the idea of us working with academia for a couple of reasons. One, maybe we could solve some of the problems we have today. But one other reason where I'd like to kind of see the opportunity with programs such as yours is to see if we can get graduates coming out of these programs that could immediately bring value to the organizations. We're always hiring, and we'd like to bring people who could be very helpful on day one.